Hey, welcome Guitar Gathering family. Hey, I'm Steve Krenz. We're coming at you live from legendary Gruhn Guitars here in Nashville, Tennessee. So excited to introduce you to one of the best fingerstyle Celtic players on the planet, and honored to have him with us. Thanks, Clive Carroll, for being here with us.
My pleasure to be here. Land of the free and the home of the brave.
That's right. That's right. Where are you from?
I'm from Essex, which is it's a home county to the northeast of London.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I was born in a town called Chelmsford, which is a kind of hub for guitar players.
Yeah.
Probably because we were all so poor, there was nothing else to do, so we just worked like the clappers on the fretboard instead, and playing in the street.
Can you open us up with a
little
song? What is this you're about to play for us?
I'll just play a little segment from a piece of mine called "In the Deep."
Wonderful.
All right.
Wonderful.
$100,000 guitar, I better not.
Absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Thanks. Wow.
Inspired by your country.
Tell us, because you were telling us last night in the concert that you did. There's a little bit of you were down in Texas.
Yeah.
You mentioned Rockport. I've got family in Rockport.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
okay,
I'm from San Antonio.
Yeah.
So.
Do you know the Maritime Museum there?
Yeah.
I played a concert with John Remborn there one time.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't believe. Well, first of all, when you step off the plane in Texas, I'd never experienced weather like it, because in England, you might get to the 80s, early 80s, but that's about it. But stepping off a plane in Texas where it's 40 degrees and 98% humidity was a real eye-opener.
I bet.
And when you drive from city to city and you pump in the GPS destination, the first kind of suggestion is like, after 198 miles, bear left, It's like the entire width of my country. So I try to capture that kind of minimalistic vibe with a kind of semi-bluesy sounding melody over the top.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's
Wonderful.
the idea.
Tell us how you got started playing guitar. I know you came from a family of musicians.
That's right. My mum plays the accordion, and she sings all the old Irish classics like Danny Boy and Whiskey in the Jar.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of rural American music in our house too.
Yep.
My dad played the kind of, that claw hammer banjo
Yeah,
style.
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
And he made the PA for the family band
Mm-hmm.
when we were kids, and the bass too.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to school Monday to Friday, and then we got picked up in the car on Friday after school, did gigs, Friday, Saturday night, maybe a Sunday thing.
Yeah.
Or I might have had a banjo lesson when I was about 7 from a great player who lived about 4 streets away,
Yeah.
and which was very nice and everything. Wasn't very nice carting a full-size banjo age 7 down 4 streets in Chelmsford, but he was a great teacher. And then dropped off back at school on Monday morning.
Now,
That's my
so
childhood.
what about, when did you get exposed to fingerstyle?
Well, when you get quite good at something, I guess, I probably showed promise,
Mm-hmm.
when I was like 9 or 10 years old. I've been playing banjo for the most part up to that, kind of 3-finger scrug style.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of guitars lying around the house.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get half decent at something from the area I came
Yeah.
from, your parents just enlist you into a classical music school. So I went to classical guitar lessons,
Mm-hmm.
and the teacher said, you need to grow your nails on your right hand. You
Mhm.
need short nails on the left hand.
That's
It's all a
right.
bit weird for a 10-year-old, So I spent the first 10 minutes of my classical guitar lessons just having my nails manicured. I remember that. And in actual fact, it was quite off-putting.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been strumming chords up to that point
Yeah.
and playing in the family band with the banjo.
Yep.
But because the classical lessons were so regimented, it was like, Carcassonne studies and
Yeah.
filing in nails and the footstool and
Yep.
playing like this.
Yeah.
I can see all the positive sides to all of that now, but
Mhm.
at that time I actually gave up.
Yeah, yeah.
I just stuck to the banjo until I
Yeah.
found a really great local teacher by the name of Hilary Camp,
Mm-hmm.
who kind of, she showed me the same things but approached it from a very different angle. She
Good.
just kind of slipped bits thing to sight read.
Good.
The occasional classical piece along with, playing the chord of G, C, and the other one.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember a time where you first kind of saw modern fingerstyle like this, and a player that really influenced you with that?
Well, there are a few. Went to a music conservatoire in London and went back home for a weekend and happened to notice that John Remborn was playing at our local folk club, so I asked if I could play the support.
Mm-hmm.
And, the reality is that up to that point, I'd never actually seen John Remborn live,
Yeah.
and it was a real eye-opener.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty groovy stuff, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And in the classical guitar world, you might just have, say, drop D on the on the low string, maybe a G to F sharp for the lute music.
Mm-hmm.
But to play in, open D or open D minor or open G or something was a bit of a revelation for me. Yeah. So I started experimenting with that. And then even though I was studying classical at college, I started to get into other tunings thanks to him.
Yeah.
And there's also another great French guitar player by the name of Pierre Bensusan,
Yeah.
you've probably heard of.
Yeah.
And I was listening to a lot of his music, and it really opened my eyes with regards to the possibilities of what dadgad tuning can offer.
Could be.
So I started working a lot in that.
Have you met Pierre?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Just briefly from time to time, the occasional guitar festival event or something like that. What a player, right?
He just happened to be coming through town several years ago, and we were able to have him on the show, and
Oh,
he was
nice
just a
one.
kind man,
Sure,
and
right.
brilliant playing and harmonics like I've never seen,
Oh yeah.
and just a great influence. I had never heard anybody like it. He was kind of the first one for me
Sure.
that was
Yeah.
in the Celtic
Okay. Sure.
genre.
Sure. Yeah.
So.
Well, here's one for harmonics, because I know some people are interested in the kind of lesson side, right?
Yes, very much. So tell us, are you bringing back up to standard
Just
tuning?
standard
then?
tuning on the bass.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in low B
Okay.
a minute ago.
Okay.
But you get your kind of 12th fret harmonics,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and you got your 7th, 5th, and you can work on and so on, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you play the 7th fret harmonics, but then touch the 7th and the 12th fret at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
you get the 7th fret harmonics up an octave.
I did not know
Yeah,
that.
It's nice, isn't it? So check these out. Okay, now touch them together. You got. Isn't that cool?
I have never.
Yeah.
I've been playing guitar a long time. Never knew that it was capable of doing that.
So in the deep piece I just played, there's and I need a high A, that note there, and Well, you could just do it like that, I suppose.
Right,
But I
which
don't
would
wanna
be
faff about
what
with
I would
moving.
classical
Yeah.
approach
Yeah,
to
right.
that.
But you can go. It's kind of handy, isn't it?
Amazing.
Oh, right.
Amazing. Your compositions are so rich with textures and stuff like that.
I'm not that rich.
How?
Anyway, thanks. Yeah.
And I know you got your degree in composition and guitar, which is sadly not as common of a degree for a composition major to have a guitar as the main instrument.
Oh, okay. Well, it's partly due to my teachers. They were, I had a couple of really influential teachers. One's a guy called Darrell Runswick, who was the head of composition at college when I was there. And the other teacher was my guitar teacher by the name of, a great guitar teacher by the name of Gilbert Barbarian. Had some other fantastic teachers like Nicola Hall and Roland Gallery and Colin Downs, but they were great from a musical and a technical perspective. But in terms of composition, I actually learned quite a lot from Gilbert Barbarian. Yeah. And our guitar lessons would kind of morph into composition lessons, and he didn't mind spending a bit of extra time with me, which I really appreciated.
When you want to start let me put it this way: how do you start the process for composing on guitar?
On the guitar,
you just get an idea, and it starts to percolate and develop a little bit.
Melody's quite a good idea, And what's the greatest instrument in the world? Guitar players might say the guitar, or a piano player might say the piano or something, but I think the voice is probably the greatest. Yeah. Certainly the biggest selling. Yeah. And so I might, who knows where a melodic idea comes from? Just the ether somewhere. You know, something's kind of jarring away at you. Then you realise, I've got something there that I might latch onto. Yeah. What do you do next? You can either write it down, or you can record it, or if you haven't got a recording device, just phone up the answer phone back at home, which is kind of fun after a 6-week tour. Pressing play, you got 21 new messages, and message 14, and you already is this kind of random melodic motif, and hang up again. But it can be quite torturous sometimes writing melodies, because you're desperate for the answering phrase. Yeah. And who knows when that might happen? It needs to feel natural. If you try and force something, it always sounds forced, I find, for me anyway. Yeah. And so you got this idea going around. If you're writing a slow Celtic-sounding dirge, it starts to have an impact on your life. You start walking around like this, and dragging your gear to the gig and everything. But if you're writing a more kind of upbeat piece, it actually affects you and your family. Yeah, yeah. Well, I can show you with that piece I just wrote if you like. So back down to low B again.
Okay, so you're tuning that down to a low B.
So standard here.
And everything else is standard.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's quite a nice tuning. If you play like a B, like that B kind of chord there, but maybe open G. It sounds like a huge open tuning, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, but it's just one string. I quite like it. Well, I wanted to create that hypnotic effect. Yeah. So, through writing music for TV and film, which is what I do sometimes, you have to be very specific about what you want to say. Yeah. So if you've got a desert scene or something, what might suit that? I'm thinking a kind of a hypnotic groove, which is why I wrote that in the end. It's just a kind of B power chord, And then I'm thinking blues, pentatonic, you can come up with all these ideas, and sometimes a melodic idea sticks. So the one I got was like... But trying to do that at the same time as that is the trick. Yeah. But I don't even bother about that to start off with. I write the piece first. So it might have 3 staves, all right? So I've got this going all the way through. I've got my melodic idea, and then I want to answer it. What I like about that, from a blues perspective, is that the first part is minor. Yeah. And then... there's my major there. And I love that. It reminds me of Into the Electric Mist, that movie. It's kind of a swampy Louisiana kind of vibe or something. Yeah. So after I've written the first melodic phrase, then I'm going to repeat it, maybe vary it slightly. And then I need a little kind of B motif.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then that's the question, and then you answer it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can ask the question again. And then conclude it. And because you've resolved back to B, you think you feel like the whole thing's ended.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the whole piece. So then after that, I was listening to, do you know that album Talking Timbuktu, which features Ali Farkatora and Raikuda? I like these kind of African blues stuff where you have like that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of that in there, but I wanted some kind of bass riff. So I was thinking, so, and then just kind of ticking away, simmering away in the distance. So because B started to fit quite nicely for the melody, I thought, man, it'd be kind of fun just to lower the E string right down to low B, right?
Good.
And now I can play that in octaves. Yeah. One thing you have to be careful of, especially on a guitar like this, is not to press too hard.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a Martin, so it's supposed to stay in tune.
That's right. I know you just grabbed one of the wonderful guitars here off the wall, which is a 1935 0045 Martin that you're playing right now. It's a glorious instrument.
Yeah.
What do you normally play on?
I've got a Ralph Bound guitar. Ralph, it's like Brown without the R. People are interested, right? Searching him out, and he dedicates all of his time to building instruments. In other words, he doesn't have a website yet. He's been going for, I don't know, since the early 80s.
Is he over in the UK?
He's based in York.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
kind of, northeast-ish part of England. Old York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a one-man outfit. He's English, doesn't use many English woods. It's made of Brazilian rosewood, and it's got a darkened Sitka spruce top.
Now, what kind of pickup system? Clive had a show last night here in Nashville, and the sound was amazing. What all were you running through?
I was just using an old LR Baggs dual source.
Those are great units.
Yeah,
those are great units.
Yeah. So it's got a kind of piezo thing under here.
Yeah.
And I installed the microphone just there. I think that's kind of like you suggested place for it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so.
And then were you running through?
Well, what I do is I wire it in stereo. And so I have a stereo lead coming out of the guitar, and it goes in. Do you remember those old Raven Lab preamps, the little red box?
Yeah.
And the bonus of having that is that you have a treble mid bass and volume for the undersaddle, and a treble mid bass volume for the microphone.
Perfect.
In other words, you can turn down the treble of the undersaddle because all that quacky noise comes from the top end on this.
Yeah.
So I use the bottom end and a little bit of middle from the undersaddle, and then on the microphone the bass is off, and then there's a little bit of middle, a little bit of treble. In actual fact, that's not too dissimilar to John Remborn's setup, because he used to have a kind of jazz humbucker across the sound hole, and he had a SM58, something like that, and he'd always instruct the sound man to make it sound as cheap and nasty as possible. And what he meant by that was just, turn all the bass off. He just wants to get the finger detail on the string.
Let's talk about your fingers and some of the technique involved there. Are those, because I know we'll have questions about your nails, are those your normal nails? Are those your real nails, natural nails? Or are these pressed on?
On the top they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of just grow them out a little bit.
Yeah.
Someone's just bought a guitar. So anyway, they're my real nails, but underneath I reinforce them. I have to say that if there are 100 different tonal varieties you can create on the guitar, my number one favourite is probably hard and callous, just like natural flesh sound, or mostly that and a tiny bit of nail or something like that. But it's only one sound; you can't vary it.
Yeah.
Whereas with nails, you can create the other 99 tonal qualities,
Now, when you say on the underside that you reinforce it, what are you talking about there?
Okay then. Well, some people go to the beauty salon.
Right. Many guys here in town. A lot of the chicken picking.
That's right.
Telecaster guys here in town.
Here, I'll just have 3 nails, please.
Yes.
That's it. And it costs what? $16 or something. I'm sure. And some other people use, toilet roll. Scott 3000.
Yep. And super glue and all kinds of crazy things.
Toilet paper, yogurt pots.
Yeah.
But my personal choice, which I got from one of my teachers, Nicola Hall, was to use ping pong ball. Right?
Oh,
Table
okay.
tennis ball.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
So what do you?
I've got my
What on
little
earth do you do with that?
kit down here. There's an ex ping pong ball. The state of that thing. Yeah. So what you do is use those cuticle scissors.
Right.
You know the ones I mean? Little kind of.
This is probably more detailed than
That's right,
than we probably should get into, but it's
So
fun. I enjoy.
when a fella asks you, what do you do with your nails? You know you're in a guitar shop.
That's
and,
right.
So you got a kind of curved scissors like that.
Yeah.
So you cut out a little kind of semicircle, so it fits underneath the tip of your real nail. Okay, and then you stick the ping pong ball. There's quite a lot sticking out as well, with super glue underneath the tip of your real nail.
But you're not trying to make it absolutely perfect with the shape of your.
Not immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is roughly. Then you use some clippers, and you kind of clip it into a rough shape, and then you use one of these kind of nail files. This one's made by Elegant Touch. So you start with a kind of rough side, smooth it out a little bit, and then after that you give it a fine polish with some 2000 grade sandpaper.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And this is from my local car body spray repair shop.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And I'm about to do a guitar shop out of business here, but you know, in those classical guitar shops, you see like a little packet for about $10 or something. You know,
Yeah.
Where you can actually get a massive sheet of it for about 50 cents from a car body spray repair shop.
That's right.
And just cut it up yourself. That's what I do.
Let's talk about your technique for a second. What are some exercises or some just things that you do in practice to keep your right hand technique
Dare
going?
I say, just listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, listening to yourself. Can save a lot of time just by recording yourself.
Yeah.
Perhaps I'm not the first person to say that.
Yeah.
But you know, the record button doesn't lie. And sometimes after you think you've mastered something and you lay it down, it's only then you can be really truly objective.
Yeah.
Or you can ask someone you really trust to listen to it.
Yeah.
Because it's quite hard to listen and do it all at the same time.
Yeah.
So if you record yourself, even if it's just 4 bars or 8 bars, you think you've really nailed it, then just go away, have a cup of tea and a think, come back half an hour, and then press play, but imagine that you didn't record it,
Yeah.
that you are now the executive producer,
Yeah.
and you have to kind of think to yourself, do I actually like this? And what can be wrong with it? You know, so if I try and do it, let's try and have a demo here. So if I'm going to go with this in the D piece, now I'm going to play the melody, all right? So it just doesn't sound right, right? There's a tricky bit, so I sped up on purpose, right? So you listen back and you think, okay, the groove's not there. I can't hear the melody. So a lot of it's just in your head, I find.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going like this. Now I'm just going to turn down the volume of the backing, and everything needs to be totally relaxed.
Yeah.
Okay? No tension anywhere. Because if there's any tension, what I find is if I'm playing ahead of the beat, the front row aren't tapping their feet.
Yeah.
You know, and if they're not tapping their feet, it's not their fault. It's because you're rushing. You know, so you kind of sit in the groove, and who knows where tension can build up. You know, hands, arms, feet, legs, brain.
Your posture,
Yeah,
how
exactly.
you're sitting on the
It's
chair.
making me think now. Yeah. Okay, so I turn that down, feel comfortable with the groove, and now I'm going to turn up the volume of the melody from something like just going to get a bit louder. So a bit more. That feels about. I think before I was going. It sounds too monodynamic.
Right.
You know, especially when you amplify it. If you play with the melody with the nail and the backing with the flesh, it creates a much wider sound. So the backing is all with the flesh of the thumb. So. And that's just through listening,
Beautiful.
really. Because if you ingrain mistakes into your playing, it takes a long time for them to unravel and then recondition down the right path.
That's right. Now, can you play us something a little bit more
Happier?
Yeah, that's something.
Upbeat.
You were playing some wonderful stuff, a jig or something that's a little bit more
Sure.
upbeat
Okay.
in its tempo.
Okay, well, we mentioned Pierre. How about a kind of dadgad thing?
Great,
Yeah?
great,
Shall I
great,
get into
great, great.
dadgad? Okay. Wow, these pegs are... Is that good enough for you? Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Beauty of dadgad. No, there's no third.
Yeah.
It's not major, not minor, just the open.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Same thing, kind of, just getting the groove going. So.
Gorgeous.
Elizabeth Kelly's Delight is the name of that piece.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
My wife plays the harp.
Yep.
She plays she plays Irish music on the harp as well. And she happened to be playing that in the little kind of practice room there. And I thought, oh yeah, that sounds like a great one. So I stood in the hallway and transcribed it and nicked it off off the harp.
Here in Nashville, the harp means something else. It means a harmonica.
Oh, yeah, right.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Everybody-
yeah.
So when there's somebody's playing the harp, that's a whole different thing
Yeah,
here
yeah.
in Nashville.
Huh.
Wonderful.
All
Thank
right.
you so much for spending a few minutes with us.
Not at all, my pleasure.
It was great.
Yeah.
Can you play us out with one more song?
Yeah, do you want it on a different guitar? Or?
Yeah, let's put you on a different guitar. Let's put you on one of the Sinker mahoganies that they have back here.
All right. didn't want to bend the neck there. I didn't want to pay for it afterwards.
Absolutely gorgeous. Wow, amazing. What was the name? Tell us a little bit about that piece before we go.
Ralph Bound, the guy who built my guitar,
Yep.
gave me a CD one time of Louis Bonfart, Solo in Rio, 1959. And out of
Gorgeous.
all of the tracks, you got the classic,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
the Morning of the Carnival. But that piece spoke to me. It's
Yeah.
called Uma Prece, I
Wow.
think. Uma Prece.
Mm-hmm.
It's Portuguese, and I don't speak Portuguese. I can tell you it means a prayer.
Yeah.
Yeah. My favourite from the album, so I transcribed it.
Beautiful. Now I know you're over here for just a couple more days here in the U.S.
Yep.
What? Were you going to Ohio tomorrow?
Columbus tomorrow, which is Tuesday. And then I'm heading eastbound.
Yeah.
Just come from the west side, and I'm heading to West Virginia, and then to Philadelphia, and then down through to DC.
Do you get over to the U.S. very much?
More often now, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Because you were at the Chet Atkins convention a couple of years back.
I've been there, 2 times.
Yeah.
The first time I came, I was invited by Tommy Emmanuel to
Yeah.
come and play at it.
Yeah.
And that was quite funny, actually, because, I hadn't really stepped on American soil so often. It might be my second time, I think. And you know what Tommy Emmanuel's like, he's just goes completely crazy on the thing. And he's one of the most important figures in the history of the instrument, right?
Yeah.
So before going on stage, he said, "I'll tell you what I'll do, Clive. I'll just whip them up into a frenzy for you and drive everyone crazy. And then I'll invite you
come
on."
out.
I mean, thanks very much, pal. But I was very grateful of the opportunity, but it really put me on the spot.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And I was there a couple of years ago and got to play a little bit with the great Martin Taylor.
Martin
as well.
Taylor.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Not at all.
It is an honor to have you. I'm so glad that this kind of impromptu thing worked out real quick for you to be with us.
Not at all. Yeah.
Best of luck on the rest of your
Spend the
dates, and we will see you next time.
Good stuff. I think I'll spend the next few hours looking around this shop.
There you go.
Thanks,
There you go.
Steve.
See you guys next time.